Upcoming episodes on the Flying Monkey podcast. Country music artist Grant Malloy Smith. 3-time Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage. Actor-musician, the one and only Chris Mulkey. Father's rights advocate Robert Garza. And new episodes of Parent Stories. Go to flyingmonkeypodcast.com and select your favorite social media site to join us. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Open Darkness and Stop the Abuse. You can find more information at www.hopeanddarkness.info, a common sense solution to parental alienation. Let us help you get your kids back. And www.stoptheabuse.info. It's time for change. Together, we can stop the abuse. You're watching the Flying Monkey Podcast. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Flying Monkey Podcast. Today, we have another parent telling his story about how he's trying to fight to be in his child's life. His name is Barry. How you doing today, Barry?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your situation, your story?
Well, my son is 8 now. This all started back, actually, it was in the works when when me and his mother met, I believe. But yeah, it started really early. He was 15 months old when she left me in Missouri and took off with my son and claimed she needed an emergency jurisdiction in Delaware, which is where we lived previously, where my son was born. So, defied the Missouri judge's order to provide him for visitation and just took off and went to Delaware to a Delaware judge and claimed all this domestic violence rhetoric that I was abusing her 5 ways to Sunday and in every way possible. And I was going to hunt her down and she was scared for her life, and got this judge in Delaware to grant her emergency jurisdiction. My son was 15 months old at the time. Obviously, I wasn't going to stay in Missouri and keep working out there when my son was 1,000 miles away. So I quit my job out in Missouri and pursued trying to get back with my son. This all happened. She did all this right at Thanksgiving break and Christmas, and I was also raising 2 of her daughters. So I had 3 kids, a dog and a wife one day, and then the next day they were all gone. And for just spiteful, manipulative reasons. She did this she had a relationship prior to our relationship and did this same thing to another man where, took his daughter basically and claimed all sorts of things about him that were never really proven in court, the same game. So I followed my son out to Delaware and fought, tried to hire the biggest, most expensive attorney I could find, thinking that they were going to help. And well, I'll say 7 years later, I'm $150,000 into attorneys and 7 different attorneys, and none of them helped me, not one. And then,
Yeah.
in any way. So, but anyway, to get back to that, the judge immediately looked at me as a drug addict, alcoholic, because that was another thing she was throwing around, which at that time I was not using or drinking alcohol. In the past I had, but she made sure she, threw that around in the courts as if that was a current issue, which, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. The judge, ordered that basically there was no hurry in me getting to see my son. And it took several months, where I didn't see him over the holidays and into January, into February, into March. And I was a mess, So finally, she ordered a supervised visitation, like one night a week for like 2 hours. That's like going to a jail to visit your son, where teenagers are monitoring you, telling you how to raise your child, and you can't, say certain things or get close in certain areas. It's very demoralizing, very demeaning, and it's just very, very difficult. Very
Yeah, and it's
humbling.
a horrible example to set for a child that they have to be supervised by somebody to be able to see their parent. It's horrific. These are crimes against humanity, basically. I mean, I've seen it, heard it. It's the most horrible thing that could be done, and it doesn't make any sense at all.
No. And this proceeded for, the next 4 years, 4 or 5 years, and I consistently went. I had to pay all the fees, and everything was on me. And but it took so long to mitigate. I just wanted to get him home desperately, overnight, weekends or whatever. But it took like 4 years in the courts and me to finally get him to come to my current house with I'm newly married with the one I wish I found the first time, and she misses him. My wife is just crushed right now for what's happened. So yeah, I continued to go to the supervised center under the direction of the judge for like 4 years, up until he was 5, 6 years old, before I finally got him here. And been through, like I said, 2 or 3 more attorneys that, taking my money, and delaying, kicking things down the road. And this judge just the entire time I was saying that in my opinion, it was completely obvious that she was just biased. Just anything my ex-wife said was what it was. And if I tried to talk, I remember I tried to say something in one hearing, and she screamed at me, this judge, and said, "You do not talk when I'm talking," and all this other stuff. But my ex could just talk till she was blue in the face. And it was clear to me that there's a double standard. And the judge is a female judge, by the way, a very liberal judge. But apparently, some male judges aren't any better in family courts, from what I understand. So,
Well, it's more, I think, the system. I mean, the way it's set up and the way they've been trained or taught or ordered to do things, just none of it makes sense when basically the law is the law and that's the rule, and they're obligated to uphold the law, and they do anything but. When you watch it, you see it, and when you live through it, actually, because people hear about it and they're like, nah, it can't be it. But
no, people
it's
don't
more,
understand it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, because they're
Mm-hmm.
they're indoctrinated to believe in
Mm-hmm.
in this country, truth, justice, and the American way, and you've got your evidence, you got your truth, and you're going to go in, and it's obvious and it's undeniable and inarguable, and they just ignore it completely or don't even allow it to be admitted, and then they invent all this other shenanigans and baloney, and it just they turn the table on you. It's just it's complete insanity.
It took me 7 years to finally understand, and I ran into Hope and Darkness, the organization in which I was referred to, by
Okay.
somebody. But it took me 7 years to finally, be taught what is really happening. And I knew, I knew the whole time, that obviously it wasn't right what was happening, but I couldn't believe how twisted it really is, how twisted the family court system really is, and that they really are, like the lawyers are feeding the judges are feeding the mental health people. I mean, it is just a racket. It's a corrupt corporation that is designed to liquidate your assets. And in the meantime, they're collecting, I think, 60 cents on the dollar for every child support dollar that is written. I believe they're collecting federal funds,
Yep.
the state.
Right out of Social Security.
Yeah. So there's a reason for it, and ultimately, like a lot of things in this world, it comes down to money. So, at the expense of the children
And loving parents.
and loving parents. Yeah, it's destroying the country. It really is. There's a lot of things that are destroying the country, but I can see this as being the root of a lot of it.
It is. Yeah,
Family.
because when you separate a child from their parent, and statistically it's backed up from the father, especially, it puts them in every, risk category that exists: suicide, unemployment, alcoholism, drug addiction, ending up in jail, can't make a commitment, can't hold the job. It damages their attachment system, which causes all these things. And it's, obviously it seems as if they actually know what they're doing. And it's causing people who think they're okay that are not okay, and these actions, it's grown. So if you look when it started, what, the 50s, 60s, when, divorce was starting to become okay and accepted, and then it just went on from there, and it's destroyed communities. And you can just see throughout history, just look at all the bad communities, they're mostly fatherless. The
Mm.
jails, I don't know the exact statistic on that. I've seen tons of informational videos and read articles, but I don't know, it was like 80 to 90% of the inmates are all fatherless. They grew up without a father in their life. But the child needs both parents, let me make that clear, mom and dad. But when one of them is abusive, then there needs to be something done in order, if therapists really want to do something good in mental health, whatever that means, you know,
Right.
they
Exactly.
put these terms out here and just pound it into everybody's brain.
Hmm.
What do? They don't have a cure. They don't have a plan. They don't, they just sit there and listen, take your money, and continually go on forever. If they wanted to do something in that industry, why don't they focus on behavior? Because that's real psychology,
Hmm.
and do
Behavior.
something to help the parent that's being abusive. Because you don't
That's right.
treat people rudely and disrespectfully and take things away from them and lie about them. And I mean, they don't have any comprehension of the consequences of what they're actually doing to other people. And if the courts are doing it, and they're allowing the parents to do it, and the mental health industry, a lot of it, the majority of it that I've seen in courts, family courts, are doing it. And the lawyers are just taking your money, and they're taking care of each other, and they're obligated to protect the court. That's their first priority. So
Yeah.
they'll pretend to work for you, take your money, and say, "Oh, sorry, pal, we lost the game." You know, but
Yeah.
that's 50,000, 100,000. There was one father I saw spent over $1 million
Hmm.
just trying to be in his child's life.
Yeah.
And this is something that it's a natural right that we have, and the Constitution states that, and yet they ignore it.
And you mentioned lawyers. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've thought to myself, how do these people sleep at night? How do they sleep at night? I just, to sit there and, hey, well, you need another 5 grand when your retainer's gone, and by the way, I have to cancel next week's, hearing, and I got to go on, we're on vacation. What I mean, it was just one thing after another with these attorneys that I had.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then you give them the 5 grand, then a couple days later it's gone. It's like, how is that possible?
and it's
It's
just
gone.
constantly writing motions back and forth there. That's all that really happened, was just motions back and responses and motions and responses. And I mean, we finally got to the visitation. The judge finally, begrudgingly, after a 70-page decision, which the attorneys were shocked. The newer attorneys, like, they've never seen that many pages written about any cases in the area. My case had, like, she wrote like a 72-page like dissertation on like our case, and like was just slamming me. And begrudgingly at the end, she finally gave a progression schedule where I could get every other weekend. This was 2 summers ago. Um, but I had to progressively get there. I had to hire like a social worker to meet with us outside the supervised center for a while. Then I had to have the social worker come to our house for the couple weekends first before I had him overnight. And meanwhile, I had to go to AA meetings. I had to go to therapy. I had to blow in a SilverLink device. I still have it. That was costing me $185 a month. I had to take a domestic violence batteries intervention class, which is just ridiculous. Um, you know, um, all these conditions, and I had to report all this to my ex-wife as if she was my probation officer, or um, it was just insanity. And then, finally I get my son home. And I mean, this kid, I've loved this kid dearly all my life, and, with my entire heart, and
Of course,
just
you're his
such
father.
joy, man. I mean, having him home and having him around. And
Yeah.
we spent about a year where he was coming and every other weekend. And, she would, mess up the schedule here and there. But we did a lot of things that summer. 2 summers ago. And I guess that was there could be several reasons that it was like night and day. We were co-parenting sorta and sorta talking, and then it was like the next day, just like it was when she left me. Like the next day, Barry doesn't want to come anymore. He thinks you're mean. He thinks he says you yell at him. I mean, things that were just not true. Absolutely not true.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, and she just fed the judge all this stuff and fed back all this stuff, I'm sure, to where it got him scared of me, brainwashed him. And she found a loophole in the system where, because we were exchanging at the supervised center, if he said, I don't want to get out of the car, they weren't going to force him out of the car. It's not their policy to force him out of the car.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that interesting? I don't want to go to school today.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You don't get to learn anything. I want to go outside and play, but I'm not going to play at the park. I'm going to play on the freeway. Oh, okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, we're supposed to say that's okay because they want. I mean, it's just against every single thing that's correct to raise a child. They have to do things. We all have to do things we don't. We don't want to go to work. We got to go to work. This is setting you up for life, and see how that's going to affect our kids in the future.
Have
you been victimized by family court? Are you suffering parental alienation? It's child abuse and it's domestic violence by proxy. Are you stuck drowning in legal and mental health bills? Get off the treadmill, escape the trap. With over 10 years of research, thousands of parent interviews and case studies worldwide, we have developed a system that works to help you get your kids back. Join the movement now. HopeInDarkness.info, StopTheAbuse.info, AlienationAcademy.com, and TheFlyingMonkeyPodcast.com. It's time for change, and it's time to stop the abuse. Go to tinyurl.com/stop-parental-alienation.
And this woman knows that I loved him dearly. I mean, she just loves inflicting pain. That's her nature. She knows I absolutely adored this little boy, and that I would never ever hurt him, and that I would raise him well. But it was just so important for her to inflict that pain.
On top of it, the thing is that they're scared. They're so insecure so when he had all that, because I've seen this and I've lived it, when they love you and they had a great time, it shows. And then when they show that, then those people, the other parents, getting so insecure and they're so damaged that their brain clicks into like, well, we can't have them love them. They got to love me and only me. And that's a lot of it too. But they also want to inflict pain on us, and they use the child to do that.
I imagine, like you're saying, Barry was starting to go home and saying things like, I had a great time, and I like Pepper the dog. We had a great day. I'm sure he was expressing some things, and like you said, it didn't sit well.
Yeah, they get jealous of it and they get insecure about it. And it's like, no, I got to be the only one, and that's the only way they feel any worth, is to have everything focused on them.
There was a problem at the end of that summer where she wanted to take a vacation, and I didn't know for like 3 weeks. And we had developed a relationship, like a consistent phone calls and him coming every other weekend. And my ex told me I couldn't speak to him at all for 3 weeks while she was on this vacation. And I was like, and I wasn't happy about that. So I let the attorneys know, and it got back to the attorneys that she was going without him. And that is when everything shifted. Right then, when she came back from the vacation, the first time he came to see me, he was different. He was a different person. So.
Yeah, well, it's the separation. They buy time to separate you, and it damages the attachment system. And then the child has to also conform to what the demands are of the other parent, or the consequences of what happens when they don't follow that rule. So, it's like all these different factors are in there. It's a little bit of brainwashing. It's a lot of fear. And it's a lot of control and manipulation, and it's just abuse is what it is when it comes down to it. It's just abusive, and it's wrong, and it's torture.
Mm-hmm. Right. So exactly. And that's exactly what transpired. I mean, and at this point, I haven't seen my son in over a year. haven't spoke with him in about a year, because every time she had it to the point where had him to the point where every time I called, he would just scream and just scream at me, and I don't want to talk to you, and and then I just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore, and I couldn't do it to him anymore. I mean, I just felt best that, um, I just came to the decision I had to kind of let go and let God, and just kind of,
Yeah.
hope that he'll come back someday in some form, in some way. But,
Yeah.
um,
Well, you got to somehow continually try to fight and stay in it. I mean, it gets to the point. I mean, the suicide rate amongst parents who are alienated from the kids is extremely high. It's so traumatizing, and it's so abusive, and you know, we can't give up as parents. We have to continue. We have to keep fighting.
yeah,
And when the kid, just to refer back to what you were saying, like when they scream and yell at you, if someone was just didn't know the situation and saw that, goes, why is he so angry? But let's put some facts out there that abused children, they do not reject their abusers. So when they're pretending to be scared or acting, or it seems as if they're scared, that's not real. And that anger is the frustration that they're feeling, being forced to have to say something and do something or act a certain way. Um, and they're screaming out, saying, it's the complete opposite of what they're saying. I don't want to talk to you, and they're getting mad because the consequences they're going to have to suffer, whether it's emotional manipulation, pretending the parent will pretend they don't love them and won't give them attention or love, or they take something away from them and then they have to be grounded for saying hi to their dad or their mom and saying I love you, or showing some happiness or laughing, and or they get hit. I mean, all kinds of stuff happens. So any
or they get
situation is
positive
different.
reinforcement where they get things for good presents
Well,
and things, whatever. But
yeah, yeah.
the latest with the judge is she basically is deferring to my son, who is who's 8. Well, there must be some reason he doesn't want to come over.
Yeah, this is insane to hear that. I mean, yeah, and I see it. I mean, what kind of moron
Mhm.
would say that?
It's insane.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
there is a reason, because you're complicit in the abuse of this child and the manipulation of this child, and the other parents obviously doing something to them that's causing this to happen, and you
it's not
not
even.
allowing this to be together is the result. This is the result.
Mhm.
So, you
The
know,
judge is not even upholding her own order. I mean, her own order is for currently. I'm supposed to be seeing him every other weekend, and that should be forced on the mother, to make that happen at the,
well,
she's
there
not.
there there are the custodial interference laws. Um, and there was one group, interference, the Coalition for Custodial Interference, I think, on Facebook. And I mentioned that because, and for parents in general who just are being denied their visitations or custody. And hopefully I'm going to have her on the show soon too, I hope. Um, but there are laws in every state. They just have to be enforced. I think Robert Garza also, he was out of Texas and he got a law passed in Texas, and they're working on doing it in other states where it's like a three strike thing. You don't bring the child to the first visitation, you get a fine. And so the police have to write a ticket and you have to pay a fine. And the second violation, it's another ticket. So now this is on written record with the police. So there's your better than your report. Plus they're getting fined. So the county and the government's making some money, because that seems to be what they want to do, is make money. So it was a very smart idea that he did. And the third time, then it's severe consequences. And I think change of custody. I have to go back and revisit it all, but it makes it so it works, so both parents can actually see their child, and it shows who the abusive parent is, if there is one, because that's abusive. And then it's a win-win for all of them. So
Well, that
we need
doesn't
that
work
everywhere.
because 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 of the loophole of being forced to exchange at the supervised visitation center. My ex has brainwashed my son to just say I don't want to get out of the car. So it's not tech. She's technically was bringing him to the visit. So it's not, that's how she got away with it.
Oh yeah,
He,
I've seen that
he
too.
doesn't.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's just, yeah, that's just, but that's
it doesn't matter because we
Hmm.
go back to the same thing. Just to use the simple example is, I don't want to go to school today. Well,
Right.
I'm sorry, you have to go to school today and we're going. So that's what a good parent, a fit parent would do.
Hmm.
And it's the way it has to be. So, you know, she
Judges
should
are
have
not
to,
judges are not enforcing it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'd suggest that they have to drop them off at the is it a setup situation where they have someone there to check you in and say, okay, so
Yeah.
then
So
she needs to
I
leave
would
the
go
child and leave. She needs to drop the child off and leave. And
refuse
that
to
would
get out of the
be,
car. Refuse to get out of the car.
yeah,
And
I know the game.
their policy is not to yank them out of the car. So yeah.
Well,
I go like the front door and they pull up in the back door and the lady goes out to get him and but he just started refusing.
yeah,
Yeah.
this judge needs to be a true judge and say, and order her to do that.
Hmm.
They all do. I mean, the majority of them don't do this. So it's the same nightmare and it just perpetuates the problem. And they don't care because and that's something else. These courts are corporations. They're not really courts of law, and I don't even know how that's even legal to have a corporation pull off these shenanigans, to
Yeah.
be polite and nice.
It is certainly not in the best interest of the child, which they like to say a lot, but it's
No, well, it's again, I said it's crimes against humanity. You're abusing the parents, you're abusing the children, and then you're abusing the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles and the cousins and the brothers and sisters and friends and everybody else. And all you're doing is damaging everyone. And it's painful, it's traumatizing, it's cruel, it's torturous, and it's terrible. It's terrible. And I say these things because it's true. We're really at a point where this has to stop, it has to change. And our politicians, you're not our leaders, you are our representatives, and people need to remember that they represent us, so they need to come back and talk to you as your community or their district or whatever you want to categorize it as, and find out what's going on. And you, as citizens, we need to tell them this is what we want, this is what we need, this is what's going on, and you're going to do it. And if not, we need to get rid of them and stop doing voting for your favorite party or voting for your favorite face or person because you like them. It's about getting things done and the law being followed. And the reason we have those laws is because it's a simple plan to make things work, and that's all there is to it. And it needs to change. We've gone completely sideways and backwards and farthest away from what's right, and it's all wrong. It's
oh yeah,
insane to watch this happen. The more parents I talk to, the worse I see. The worst, it's just getting worse and worse. And this has happened globally, all around the world.
yeah, it had me to the point where if I did not, I had to relent and just kind of and step back because it was
Yeah. Well,
getting traumatic for me.
oh no, it is. It's very traumatic. It's abusive what they're doing to you and what they're doing to your child.
I actually
Um,
using my son to as a proxy to abuse me, basically, and then turning around and saying I'm the abusive one.
oh yeah, that's the game. That's the game. They accuse everyone of what they're actually doing. So we need to unite. We need to work together. And like you said, you have to step back sometimes. And sometimes people, you have to take a break. You have to breathe, but don't stop. Don't quit. And anyone going through this knows the times you wake up in the middle of the night, just boom, you sit up and you're like, I got to do this. I got to show them this. I got to, because you have the truth and you have the facts. And it's a horrible feeling. It's a horrible situation to be in. So to finish up real quick here, is there any organizations that you would suggest to other parents going through this that might help them, or places where they can find assistance or support?
Yes, I did mention earlier about Hope and Darkness. They're very very helpful. They will school you and teach you exactly what's going on in the family court system. And they are also there as comfort, and they are about action, and they will help you develop a plan to take the steps you need to take. It's an ever evolving thing happening right now as this problem, a
Yeah.
solution for it. So they're all about reuniting parents. And
That's
Dr.
good to
Bill.
hear. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there that don't. They just take your money and run. So
Mhm.
I keep hearing more and more good things about them. So, well, Barry, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to come out and tell your story, and hope and pray things work out for you and that it comes to a solution quicker than later. So
Yeah.
you take care and
Thanks.
keep in touch, and we'll hopefully do a follow-up with you sometime soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, Barry, you take care.
Thanks for watching the Flying Monkey podcast. Like, follow, and subscribe to our social media sites on Facebook, X, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, and Truth Social. You can also go straight to our webpage at www.flyingmonkeypodcast.com.
Winter, spring, summer, or fall, too hot or too cold, give us a call. We're always here to service your needs. We treat you like family at Mountain Breeze. Heating and air conditioning, set your mind at ease with Mountain Breeze. Mountain Breeze, heating and air